Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor here. Today it is Sunday, so we are going to do another What's Sold on eBay. Without further ado, we're going to cut straight over to the screen and show you some items we sold on this store. So here we are. This is the first item. I've talked about charms and little tiny things like this as well many times before. This is something that I purchased for $1, actually like 20 of these things at some church sale or something. I sold just this lot for around 25 bucks shipped. So, that's just a perfect example of what these can sell for. These are just tiny little things. Again, you might spend a nickel or something for some of these, even a quarter. I've spent $1 at the most on any one of these type of things and still can make some good money depending on the ones you buy. Now, I threw some more records in here. I had somebody asking to put more records in, so I threw some records in this week. I had two different people buy some Hank Williams this week. I just threw a couple in here so you can see. This one was marked down. I do believe it did go for $33.75. It's Rambling Man and Take These Chains From My Heart. Both well known. Ramblin' Man is actually the A side, and this would be the B side. A side being the side the stations would have pushed. Here's some die cut. These are George Washington. You can see the one there on the left. It actually says G. Washington on the ground, and you can see the cherry blossoms, and it's an axe. So this is a play on George Washington chopping down the cherry tree. These are generic cards that would have been used to, like, have a local company stamped in on that banner up there, like on top of the tree area up there. These came from a printer's stock, actually. I only have like $1 or so into all of them. $33.75. It was up for 2 days. Here is a booklet. This one was up for, I don't think it was up very long at all on this one here. Somebody could have darkened the image, but either way, it sold for $24.50. It's from Put-in-Bay Island, which is out in Lake Erie. There was a big monument out there. Anybody in the Ohio region, Michigan, Indiana, any in this area has probably heard of Put-in-Bay. It's a nice long 20 or 30-minute boat ride out to the island. There's a huge monument that's 10, 12 stories tall that you can see pretty much everything. South Bass Island area, so, just FYI. It's a really nice place to go. We take the family there, and we take relatives when they come out this way. But I've learned one thing that all the vintage collectibles from the island always sell. One key thing, and I find them around here quite often, so. In most areas, there's some local attraction that's been around for, 100 years plus. Those are usually decent areas to center in on from your local area because they'll show up. Now, look at which ones are important, which ones aren't, because there's area and things around here that just don't sell. We've got some caverns, Seneca Caverns and things. They're just mediocre sellers, as well as some of the amusement parks like the old ones, Storybook Gardens and things along that line. Here's some Micronauts. Now, this is just one set of this I sold for $14.50. Now, I bought a whole set of this, the whole rocket tube set, and I took it all apart and individually bagged them up. It was like a $2 or $3 investment for me. If I sold it all together, I would have probably got, with shipping, maybe 60 bucks. Part-wise, I've already returned on my same investment almost $220 from those same exact parts. So I don't mind if something stays up and I sell one here, one there, or whatever the case may be. I can replenish these sometimes too, because I've gotten several sets of the rocket tubes, because again, most people don't think it's worth anything, so I split it up, sell the parts, and then boom. Next one here is a Ship at Sea card. It's a trade card from Columbus, Ohio. It's still an area that exists, Main Street, High Street. I've been in that same corner section right there. Again, because Columbus is near places we go. We go down to Hocking Hills. But this is a decent one. I took $24.50 for it. It was up maybe, I want to say 6 weeks at the most. So $24.50, no big deal. Now, I showed one of these and maybe a week or two ago's what sold. This is the second one now that I've sold. I was going to actually get rid of these when I dumped glass, but I said, no, let me hang on to them. They've been up for like 6 months, maybe at most, on these. So at the high end, I've got 30 cents into listing these. On these multiple quantity listings, it's only the same listing fee of 5 cents. So for 5 cents, I've got 3 identical items listed. I've sold now, this is the second one, for $43.12. The other one I took around $34, $35, if I'm not mistaken, on it. So 70 some odd bucks, $2 investment. I still have one more to sell, and I'm sure it'll sell, so I'm just going to let it run till it sells. Next one here is a Pan American Exposition manufacturer's card. It's just a hair bigger than a postcard. In fact, it may have been used as a postcard, or the same design was. Either way, it still sold very well. I took $30 on this one plus shipping on this one here. Now, print ads. I threw a couple print ads in here. They're not big movers or sellers for the most part, but I have nothing into them. If I cut up a newspaper or something, or a magazine mostly, and say I spent $1 on a magazine, I'll usually sell a couple right away of the print ads out of them, and then throughout the time they'll stagger in price. So if I'm running a bunch of print ads, I only have to sell a couple a month to make a good profit. I really only have to sell one a month to make my money back in a few dollars. So, I can't lose out on stuff like that. Knowing what sells is key too. These quack medicine ones always seem to sell for me. Those are the number ones print ads that I mess with in this era. There's vintage eras that there's better print ads. Like the 50s and 60s, it's Coca-Cola ads, print ads like the soda shops, and then transportation and cars and airplanes and things. Or war if it's from World War II era. Next one here are some die-cut Victorian heads. Now, I had a bunch of these, and I talk about breaking up sheets. I don't care if these are historical, and breaking up a sheet kind of kills the historical aspect of it. There's no difference in my book because most of the time you find them individually. If I buy a huge collection and there's sheets in there, I'm going to split them up. Average price on any one of these die-cut heads is usually $5. The far end on the left there is actually Leonardo da Vinci, and the other two are Byron and and Longfellow's the other one. So I took 15 out of the 3 of these heads. That's about average. I sell quite a few of these. Again, I will break them up from sheets anytime, or blocks of 5, 6, 8, whatever they are. They're going to be split up and sold like this because I can get more out of them. Next one's another record, $43.12, plus shipping, of course. It's an early cameo, 1920s. The Caroliners are a jazz band. If it says foxtrot, it's usually jazz. Almost every time I see the word foxtrot, it is going to be jazz. This would be called pre-war. It's after World War I, but before World War II, and that's what pre-war is considered. So you can just kind of see it. In a lot of cases, the one side of the record will have one performer and the other side will have somebody totally different. Same style of music, and in some cases it's not even the same style. You may see foxtrot jazz on one side and then waltzes on the other side, believe it or not. That's just kind of how they do it. Next one here is another Hank Williams. This is Calling You. If you've seen the movie Mars Attacks, the newer one with Jack Nicholson in it, this song is in there. This song saves the world. This is the song that they're playing in there. So I liked the movie for what it was. I think maybe Tim Burton designed it. There's an artist I follow on YouTube that actually has a channel who paints some images from there too. I love sci-fi fantasy artwork. So this is a good one here, $33.75, as I said. Next one's a tape measure. I had it up for a little while, maybe 2 or 3 months. It's a celluloid case. It still works. It's all there. It's got cloth tape on the inside. It's local. I took $10 for it. I paid $1 for it, so no big deal on my part. Now here is a Kodak wood frame. This is a Primo film holder. The actual unexposed film would go inside there, and you could pull a little thing up, and then it would expose it. Or the camera, you'd put it in there and expose it. The piece there on the left looks like a handle. That part can pull out, and that's where you'd put the film in there. So anyway, I did take 20 on this one. Now, I had a bunch of these. I've sold most of them. I just leave these run because eventually they'll sell. Most of these I send to like France, England, Germany, and things like that on these. These almost always go overseas for some reason. No idea why. There's a bigger market there than here. But again, that plays in with what you sell, how you sell it, and your options. On something like this, this can ship first class international, so I do not ship this through the global shipping program to France, England, Germany, Australia, Japan, and there's Canada and a couple other little countries sometimes. So I purchased a ton of vintage camera stuff, and I buy them at auctions quite often. It'll be a big tub of like 40, 50 pounds of it. I'll just sort it out when I get home, sort out what they are, search them, do some research, price them, and then list them from there. Anything that's not worth listing on its own will just go in a big lot, and then I'll sell them that way. I sell lots of that stuff on eBay as well, too. Next one here. Now, this is a rosin Rosbro hard plastic. It's a Valentine's figure. It could be just a toy. These are usually mounted sometimes onto like carts and things like that that hold candy in it. I've sold some elves from this, which I've showed as well, too. This one did sell for $43.12, and that's really on the high end here. Some of the better ones I've seen, though, as high as $75 to $100 on these. You just kind of got to get to know the feel for these. This is early 1940s piece here. Next one's a real photo postcard. This was up for maybe 24 hours, maybe. $7.99, it sold straight up. And that's about average on these. I wasn't trying to crank out a bunch on these. I sold a bunch real quick like this. Again, they don't show up super often, but they're just not worth that much money. It's hard to even tell what's going on in the image, honestly. Here's some made in occupied Japan. They're miniature Toby jugs. I did take $8.99. I paid a quarter a piece for them, so I just let them run. They've been up for maybe 60 cents worth of listing, maybe 12 months at the most. So at the most, I have $1 or so into it, so I'm going to walk home with $7 profit on these, after all said and done net. Next one's a postcard. I took 20 on this. Santa Lucia, Salinas, California. I have a couple of these, so I wasn't worried about what I took on it. Very happy with the $20. Average on these isn't that high, so you put your cards up high. Chances are, if it's something vintage like that, you may be the only one up at any given time. Even though there's comps, most people don't check the comps, and the comps are going to show for 90 days, so you may be the only one who has one of these for 30 days. So if the right person's on in that 30 days, you're still going to sell it. Next one's a Connie Boswa and Bob Crosby. Now, this is related to Bing Crosby as well, as far as I remember. I think this is his brother. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. There's actually Crosby Family Christmas 78s. This sold because it's Zippity Doo-Dah from Song of the South by Walt Disney. So, and Connie Boswell's singing it in here. Kind of got to know some of the names to know. Anything Disney-wise on these vintage 78s, I usually try to look them up if nothing else. $25.88 on this one. Sold some pencils. I sell pencils every week or so. I sell a couple to somebody. Again, I pay nothing. I got like a nickel into most pencils I purchased. This one came in a huge lot, and I actually have nothing. I've made a couple $100, $300 or $400 of profit just off a $10 or $5 purchase of some of these pencils. $9.38. This person bought a couple pencils from me. I just have a few in here to show you. Missouri Pacific line, again, $9.38. Religious metals, and I've talked about this too. I've got a video going up today. It's actually being uploaded right now from my Patreon group, just talking about hot items to look for, and it's all on religious items like this, just to give you a real good ins on it. So if you're in the Patreon group, that's what you got coming out today. It would have been up yesterday, but we had some issues with the upload speeds and it crashing to YouTube. So our reception out here is sometimes terrible through our internet. So anyway, $10 on this one, plus they paid shipping. Next one here is another postcard. I took 25 on this one. It's been up for a little while. Who knows what the actual value is on this one here. It's not a real photo postcard either. It's just a standardized postcard. And with this one here, it's a Train Depot, so it could have went for that $57.50. I sell postcards. Lately, it's been like 5 or 6 every day of the week. I've been selling postcards every single day, day in, day out, for months on end lately. At least since the beginning of fourth quarter, that's how it's been. 4 or 5 now. It's been up. That's my average. It doesn't mean every day I'm selling 4 or 5, but if you average out every day of the week for the last 3 or 4 months, maybe even 4 or 5 months, we're averaging 5 or 6 a day, somewhere in that range. Next one here is a Menlo Park roller rink in Perkasie, Pennsylvania. It did go for $25.88. Again, I mark stuff down. I mark them up high. The least I've sold one of these labels for is $15, and the most is around $34.50. I've sold a few for $57.50, but that's when I first started selling them and realized it's just easier just to mark them all $34.50 and just take what you get for them. That's just the perfect example. Don't ever auction these. You will not get any money out of them. It's just not going to happen. Just put them up as a bin and let them sit there till they're gone. That's what happens. I sell these on average at least one a day. And I went back and looked and double-checked this. So for the last 3 or 4 months, I've on average sold one of these every single day for the last 3 or 4 months. Every single day of the week for, almost 90 days on end. So that's 90 of these I've sold. And the last one here is an actually trimmed card. This is a scrap junk piece. It was found in some postcards. It's not a postcard. Someone has actually cut off the very top, which would have said the company name that this was. Printers cards, engraved printers cards like this always sell for us and always sell horrendously high. Had this had the name, the actual company that this is to, instead of the $75 I got for it, I would have probably got $750 out of it. That's on average what I sold. And you can look back to some of my what's sold on videos. I sold 3 or 4 of these in 1 week and netted around $2,700 from finished complete cards. Now, again, as I said, this one here is missing the best part, which is the company name. I was honestly surprised it sold for that much, in all honesty. But either way, it's a really neat, interesting piece. The person who bought it's bought many cards from me before. Maybe he knows the company. So there is some giveaways. There's only so many printers that were in Cincinnati in the 1870s, 1880s. So anyway, that's what I have. Well, there you go. There's some more items that we look for. Hopefully that gave you some ideas and some thoughts on things to look for. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.